This is the top 10 greatest MMA fighters according to Top Fights. Who's the best fighter in the history of MMA? It's a fiercely debated topic, almost as old as the sport itself. But today, Top Fights is going to weigh in with our picks for the top 10 MMA fighters of all time. Number 10, Conor McGregor. Now, we know some of you don't think that Conor should be in the top 10 at all, while others think we should be ending the list with him at number 1 instead of starting out with him at number 10. So, let us explain. Conor has excellent boxing and stand-up skills and might be one of the best pure strikers in the sport. He's an amazing promoter, and he's held championship belts in 2 UFC weight classes. Pair that with some of the big names he's defeated, and well, you just gotta respect what he's done so far. Okay, so why number 10? Well, he's never defended those championship belts for one, and it's also pretty apparent that he's got some weaknesses to exploit in his clinch and ground game. Only time will tell if he can move further up the all-time list. That is, if he ever comes back at all. Number 9, Chuck Liddell. Chuck is one of the strongest punchers in the history of the UFC, and he's got some great kicks to go with it. He earned the nickname Iceman in the octagon with a highlight reel worth of jaw-dropping knockouts throughout his career and championship reign. Chuck was a dominating fighter in the octagon from roughly 1998 until 2006. This pretty impressive high-level run started to fade in 2007, however, and ultimately led to his retirement after a loss to Rich Franklin in 2010, proving that nobody, not even the Iceman, can stay on top forever. Number 8, Dan Henderson. Now, here's a guy who started fighting on June 15, 1997, and was still fighting at a high level up until 2016. During the Pride days, Hendo was one of the promotion's main draws, and in his final Pride fight, knocked Wanderlei Silva out cold to win the middleweight title. This was in addition to the welterweight title that he already owned. His fight card is a virtual who's who of MMA fighting legends, and who can forget about that knockout against Michael Bisping? By the way, he also defeated Fedor Emelianenko, which is nothing to scoff at. Number 7, Randy Couture. One of the most amazing things about The Natural is that he started his professional fighting career at age 33, an age where many fighters find themselves on the downside of their respective careers. Randy has held belts in 2 UFC weight classes and will always be known as the fighter who just won't give up. Although he never amassed as impressive a win streak as some others on this list, he has a very impressive list of names under his win column, including Vitor Belfort, Kevin Randleman, Chuck Liddell, Tito Ortiz, and Tim Sylvia. Randy stood tall in tough fights against Brock Lesnar and Lyoto Machida as well, in what would be his final fight. Time after time, The Natural proved that you never underestimate the old guy. Number 6, Matt Hughes. Matt Hughes started things off with a submission slam win on January 1st, 1998, and quietly amassed an incredible 45-9 overall record that ended in 2011 with a loss to Josh Koscheck. Matt was the quintessential wrestler and taught a whole generation of fighters what it meant to have no takedown defense in MMA. During his prime, he defeated the likes of Sean Shirk, Carlos Newton, Frank Trigg, Hoist Gracie, and even Canadian superstar George St. Pierre. Some would say that Matt's MMA accomplishments are underrated, as he influenced the sport so heavily in terms of the legitimacy of wrestling as a fighting discipline. Number 5, Demetrius Johnson. Mighty Mouse is arguably regarded as one of the best pound-for-pound fighters on earth and one of the most technically skilled fighters in MMA. He became the UFC's first and only flyweight champion in 2012, and he's defended that title 9 times so far. Prior to his UFC debut, he was 2-1 in WEC with wins over Damasio Page and Nick Pace. Demetrius is all about speed, precision, and power in a 125-pound package. Remember that next time you're thinking about picking on that little guy at the club. Might not turn out the way you planned. Anyway. Number 4, John Jones. From April 12, 2008 until January 6, 2015, Jones posted a 21-1 overall MMA record with 15 wins by stoppage, and what's more, that loss of his was a disqualification for downward elbows against Matt Hamill in a fight he was clearly about to win. Although he's already known as one of the best athletes ever to grace the octagon, his career has been sidelined multiple times due to various controversies, and one can only speculate what his record would look like had he been fighting full-time the past few years. Basically, there's never been a fighter who's defeated a list of who's who in mixed martial arts quite like Jones has during his prime. It's been amazing, but the only question is what'll happen if and when Bones makes his way back into the cage. Number 3, Fedor Emelianenko, the last emperor. The name really does fit when you consider that Fedor went undefeated from April 6, 2001 to November 7, 2009, amassing 27 victories and 1 no contest against Antonio Nogueira. It was due to an accidental headbutt, and I'm going to leave the obvious big Nog joke out of this. It's just too easy. During that streak, he defeated the best heavyweights in the sport, including Big Nog, Mark Coleman, Krokop, Andrei Arlovsky, and Mark Hunt. What makes Fedor so great is the amount of fame he earned while the sport was still relatively unknown to most of the world. He did this all while avoiding fighting for the UFC his entire career. He's currently 36-4 and still fighting. Fedor's mandatory watching if you're new to following MMA or haven't taken the time to watch him in action. You'll know what Sambo means when he's finished with you, that's for sure. Number 2, George St. Pierre. GSP might be known as one of the most composed fighters to ever enter the octagon. He's the stereotypical polite Canadian outside of the ring who will pick you to pieces once the gate closes. After telling Matt Hughes that he wasn't impressed with his performance, he went on to beat him and take his welterweight belt, only to lose it to Matt Serra, his very first defense a few months later. But after unifying the belt the following year, GSP never looked back and compiled a hit list of killers while defending the belt a total of 9 times. George is one of the first of a next generation of fighters that began to master a variety of styles, including karate, wrestling, boxing, Muay Thai, and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu that forms the blend we call MMA today. GSP vacated the belt with a 25-2 record, and now, after taking a few years off, seems poised to make a comeback. Number 1, Anderson Silva. Lots of fighters on this list have impressive win records and have defeated impressive fighters, but only the Spider has done it while making it all look, well, easy. From April 22, 2006 to October 13, 2012, Silva put together a 17-fight win streak, and he did it by simply mauling the fighters he faced. Most of his fights against decorated veterans of the sport looked like he was fighting first-timers. The Spider can make you miss, and then he makes you pay with almost inhuman accuracy that could turn the most tested chins into glass. Even though he seems to have never fully recovered from a horrific leg injury in the ring, look it up. Yikes, you've been warned. Anderson still remains the most entertaining and skilled fighter ever to step into the MMA ring, and the greatest of all time. So that's our list. Tell us what you think below in the comments section. Who did we miss? Who do you have for number 1? Sound off below, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button to make sure you get all the best MMA content available. Thanks for watching Top Fights, and we'll see you next time.
Trailer park girls go round the outside, round the outside.